Here we go. Starting recording still. Now, do you see both of us, Farrah?
Flash to your icon, and now it's back to you, and I see myself on the corner.
So, okay, so as long as you're in the corner, I think we're okay, we're good. So, we're having some interesting technical difficulties today trying to communicate face to face. Should we put our masks on? Are we socially distant? Are we more than 6 feet apart? I don't know. If your mask works, why can't we stand closer? If we're sick, we're a few miles apart. We're so privileged to have Farrah Aziz, who's been to Minnesota many, many times, and we look forward to having her again after the socialist Maoist lockdown in Minnesota that we're living under for going on 1 year. And here we are, Farrah. It's so delightful to see you again. Everybody misses you, and we wish we could have you and your husband and our coach come along. We'd like to see Coach again. That would be good. And so many things to discuss. We had wanted to do a Christmas session with you about the cultural traditions in the world, the universe that you come from. To celebrate Christmas, and we're still in the Christmas season. I haven't taken down the Jesus, Joseph, and Mary, and I've got the big LED Christmas light blazing brightly in the front yard, along with a manger scene in LED. And I just stepped up Christmas this year. I've been singing Christmas carols at the City Hall every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. since 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. So I really in the face with the hymns of Christmas. And actually, Judge Lund came outside with a Christmas card for me. And that was a really special moment when he said, "Thank you for bringing the joy of Christmas with your marvelous caroling." And I got a chance to go to some Madonna Towers, which is a retirement center for elderly, and then also the St. Francis of Assisi Heights compound where all of the nurses are kept, and they've been in lockdown since March. And everybody, I went to some nursing homes and stood outside the windows and sang at the captive audience within. And one lady was conducting the Christmas carols while I was singing. She was doing this in the window. I had a blessed Christmas. And they couldn't cancel it. And Farrah, I've been talking for going on 3 minutes. How are you doing? What's going on with you, Farrah Prudence?
I
What's
love
up?
hearing that.
What's up? What's in the house? I said.
What's in the house? So, a lot of things. This past year has been difficult. My son turned 1 in December, and I realized that he has spent most of his life in lockdowns. He has not been to a playground yet. He has not had the opportunity to do a lot of any really visits with other kids to, play dates or anything like that. It's just
Yeah.
mind blowing to really think that your son has spent most of his life, this very short life, 1 years old, in lockdowns. He hasn't really seen the world. Um, we went to get a Christmas tree, and we got to go into the shop. So my husband and I both don't wear masks, period. And we did when my son got sick. I had to take him to the hospital, and I went in, and nobody said to wear a mask because you just don't mess with me. And it's funny, my daughter, who's 3.5, she was with me, and she was asking the nurse that was sitting up front, "Why are you wearing a mask?" And the nurse said, "Well, your mommy should be wearing a mask too." And my daughter, I kid you not, she says to her, she goes, "We don't wear masks. We're not afraid of getting sick." I just,
From the mouths of babes.
so
Yeah.
it's been a ride. They did make my husband wear a mask to come see my son. He wore it just to get into the hospital, then he took it off. But, because of that, we're very limited on where we go. But we went to find a Christmas tree, and in that particular store, they have a Christmas tree yard, and then in the store they don't make you wear a mask. Now, I've been watching, and it's about 50-50. The amount of people wearing masks voluntarily, and the amount of people who, when given the opportunity, won't wear the mask. But the point is, I was saying that because when my son walked into that store, his eyes just lit up, and he couldn't believe everything around him because he hasn't been. He hasn't seen
Mhm.
different people. He hasn't seen
Mhm.
different things. So
Mhm.
it's been it's been an interesting year. The elections have been heartbreaking for so many reasons, but
Mhm.
we'll start with Christmas. Christmas was great. We got to go and visit some family. Yes, we did. We did not quarantine for
Shame
Christmas.
on you.
Listen,
How dare you celebrate Christmas?
my in-laws, not they, so we don't say my in-laws, we say my in-loves. Um,
Oh,
they they're pretty up there in age. They're 71 years old,
yeah.
and
They would
they're
rather see their grandchildren than not see their
yep,
grandchildren, right?
yep,
At this point,
absolutely.
why?
It.
So,
You nailed
absolutely.
it right on the head. And they're not willing to, I mean, they could, I mean, God forbid, but they could go of natural causes at any moment.
They're still going
Um,
to call it COVID, though.
yeah,
It could be a
of
car
course.
accident, right?
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. But it's not, we'd rather spend time with family.
Yeah.
So it was great. But as far as traditions that come from the Middle East, my mom calls me an American Christian because because I became a really a devout Christian here in the States. So I've read my Bible first in English, then I read it in Arabic. I know all of the names in English, not necessarily in Arabic. So I don't have a lot of that Middle Eastern stuff, but I do know that we have certain breads that the Orthodox Church in the Middle East they
Oh,
make around Christmas time. Bread
no.
that supposedly Jesus ate. They have a
Maybe
certain soup.
challah,
What is
like
it?
challah breads that are woven, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
I
exactly.
remember. Yeah.
And sometimes they make it in the shape of a cross, which is, I mean, it's it's work. That is skill.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And the
they
soup,
also
you
do
were
what?
going to say, you said something about soup before I
Yeah,
interrupted.
there's also something called, in English, it's called a monk soup, but it's supposedly a soup that Jesus and his disciples
Oh,
made and eaten. So
is
that's
it
called a monk.
harira? Like a harira
I
with
think, yeah,
lentils and peas?
exactly.
And yeah,
Yep,
very
it's a
nutritious.
vegan. It's a vegan soup, I think.
Maybe garlic and tomatoes.
I don't
I
think
don't,
there's any
I don't
tomatoes in it.
know.
Hold on, I have the recipe because I wanted to make it, and
Yeah,
it takes like a million things.
it's
And
very
my husband doesn't.
nutritious.
Yeah, my husband doesn't believe in anything that doesn't have meat. So he's like, how is this even a meal?
At least put some bacon in it.
Yeah. Okay. It's called kibbit rahib in Arabic. It's brown lentils, garlic, lemon juice, pomegranate molasses. That's the reason I didn't make it. I couldn't find pomegranate molasses anywhere. Um,
Where would you go to find that? I mean, that's such a Middle Eastern thing. I don't
yeah.
even know. I mean, maybe that would be flown in diplomatic pouches to the
Yep.
UN. Directly
There's
to
two ingredients that I couldn't find here, and we don't have really a lot of like Middle Eastern stores. We don't have any Middle Eastern stores around here. So I'm sure like in places in Minnesota you could find it at an Arab
the.
store.
Yeah.
But there's burghal, which really I don't know what it is in English.
Oh, can you say that
Burghal,
again?
burghal. You've had tabbouleh? I'm
Oh, yeah, tabbouleh. Yeah,
okay. The grain that's in the tabbouleh, that's
yeah.
burghal.
That's so the grain that's in tabbouleh is the semolina wheat, right? It's the
Is it
little tiny
semolina?
yellow ones. The
I don't.
little. It's like a pasta.
I thought it was burghal. Semolina is different than burghal.
Oh,
Let me
oh.
see. Hold on.
Semolina is a little more like rice
I
or
love
pasta,
semolina. I make the
but
dessert for my kids. Have you ever had the semolina dessert? They
yeah,
color it different colors and then they put the syrup on top.
right. It's better than tapioca, which is all we ever had in a Norski, Minnesotan home. Tapioca. Did you ever have tapioca? Yeah, but
Yes.
but the semolina wheat they can sweeten it and turn it into some nice pastries. But
Yes.
this other one is a different type of grain, then, right?
Yes, it is. I can't, I'll have to look into it, but I only found it on Amazon and my husband and I are trying to boycott Amazon. We're trying
Yeah,
our
we
best.
all should. Yeah.
Yeah, Absolutely.
I turned off my Amazon Prime, and I
Nice.
turned off, they had tricked me into going for the Amazon credit card. I mean, try to get customer service on there. They don't even have call centers in the Philippines. There's no, nobody answers the phone. They don't have any way of reaching them. And I tried my hardest to close the account and turn it off for good. And uh, I had like monthly subscriptions to things going on that ended up making it like $100 a month I was being charged. So I ended up just, hey, bye, let me go. Can't reach anybody. I finally did it kind of surreptitiously, and then I had a credit balance on my account because I was deliberately trying to overpay because the
Yeah.
interest rate was 20%, and I was like, I'm trying to get completely unconnected. So finally, I got a refund check from them yesterday,
Nice.
uh, to get me away from. Yeah, everybody should walk away from Amazon and Netflix and all the rest. So you've turned off your television viewing too, though, right?
We
Yeah.
we haven't had a TV in our house for about how long has it been? At least 3 years now.
Oh, good,
At least three
good.
years. If
There's
we want to
nothing
watch
on
something,
there. Yeah, the
we hit
programming. Just
or
say
whatever.
no to the
Yeah.
programming. And unfortunately, even PBS Kids has been infiltrated with right thinking and right speech, and so everything's a little racist message or implanting racism into toddlers and children. They ruined Curious George. They ruined Dr. Seuss, The Cat in the Hat. They even ruined Word Girl. It's like I remember watching Word Girl with my kids and like singing along with all the songs on PBS Kids, and then on one day I'm like, hey, wait a minute, there's something kind of surreptitiously going on here when they're sneaking in all of these, anyway, counterculture, kind of cultural Marxist stuff. But other special traditions about Christmas, what do you think? Anything else on that comes
We
to mind?
have
Music or song or people used to live in peace in a lot of Muslim countries, and Muslims lived beside Christians and Jews once upon a time in some, and Buddhists and Jainists and pagans, and you would have like the Silk Road. And I was on with Sharam Hadian earlier this week, and we were talking about, hey, all this cultural diversity and multiculturalism and many languages being spoken throughout the Arabian Peninsula, all gone, all gone in the
oh,
name of the religion of peace. Not my word.
yeah. Well, we have my mom's church that she was born into is the Rum Orthodox Church, and I would love to get some of their um, traditions and some of their books and some of their icons and everything else because they were nearly exterminated by the multiculturalism that had done. And I recently
The
found out,
monolithic, yeah, yeah.
yeah, the religion of peace. So I did the 23andMe test, and I found out that my heritage is actually from Tripoli, Lebanon. I'm 71% from Tripoli, Lebanon, which is crazy. And they had immigrated to Bethlehem in the 1300s. And there was a mass immigration from Lebanon to Bethlehem in the 1300s. And they married into those families. So I was doing some research with one of my sisters and trying to figure out why they would have left where they came from to go. That's a long way. I mean, they were on foot.
Yeah.
And in the 1300s, one of the Islamic Caliphate was taking over that area. And so they must have had to leave because of that, just to keep their lives. So it's interesting just how far back that goes. But I have every intention of going there one day, possibly, and
Yeah.
seeing where it all came from. It's kind of interesting.
And you're also a little bit Jewish, and so you're a little bit of a Dead Sea pedestrian, so to speak, and
I
you've
am.
got that background too.
Well, it's my grandfather, my dad's dad, always said that we were Jewish. So I need to take this other blood test because the 23andMe and the Ancestry one, they do not differentiate in their tests between a Middle Eastern Jew and a Middle Easterner. So it's the same thing because there are Jews who, they're from Judah But
Right.
if you're from Judah, they just tell you that you're from that area. They don't tell you that you're actually Jewish.
Yeah.
So I need to take this other test to see if we are actually Jewish. We'll see what happens. It's just this past year. So I found out my ancestry this past year. I've learned quite a bit about America. I was very surprised about the things that I have learned about the American people. And it's been a year of trials and a year of learning, I think, for all of us.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it all sort of culminated yesterday and with what they're doing today to President Trump. And we remarked how we were having trouble like establishing this link on Skype. Well, we know big tech is censoring stuff right now. And President Trump has been kicked off Twitter and he's moved over to Parler, everyone, Parler or Parler en français, s'il vous plaît. But also with the whole today, Facebook Zuckerberg announced that President Trump will be blocked from Facebook for the unforeseeable future, at least till the end of his presidency. And there's another big tech giant which is limiting the free speech of our president, our duly elected, probably the last duly elected president of these United States. As we saw our republic upended yesterday in one full day of nonsense and mayhem caused by leftists who were remarkably allowed to enter the sacred chambers of our House of Representatives and shut down. By the time when the senators got back in session, they'd all changed their minds about supporting President Trump. And then we saw Trump has been whisked away to, I believe, the military command center in Texas, I think. And we'll see what happens next. He's not a guy who really gives up. So I'm hoping that it isn't over. But yeah, I'm talking too much already. But any reactions about like yesterday and the news and
I have a
our
very
peaceful
dear
protest?
friend who told me she was going to the rally, and I didn't expect there to be any kind of violence because I used to go to the Tea Party rallies. And honestly, the parks and everywhere we were cleaner when we left them than when we found them. It was all very peaceful. There was all kinds of people, all kinds of colors, all kinds of backgrounds,
Right.
and it was just generally extremely peaceful, firm, but peaceful.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, there's patriots going out. It's not going to be a problem. It wasn't even, something I was going to keep track of. And then somebody texted me or messaged me and said, have you seen what's going on? And I looked at the news and I see what's going on. So I'm just texting her right away to see, because trouble always finds her. She's just always like in the middle of it. So she said she did get in the middle of it, but they got away and they were safe. But she was just as surprised as I was to hear about the things that are going on. But it is infuriating to think that little horrible quality human being, Mark Zuckerberg, would have the audacity to block the president of the United States. I mean, the president of the United States. It's
Yeah.
it just feels like we're losing everything. I would have never imagined in a million years that my people would agree to be in house arrest for almost a year now, that they would, in a mob fashion, go after people who don't want to wear a piece of cloth on their face,
Right.
that people would get doxxed, that people would get threatened with their lives, that it's insane what I'm watching. And I was reminded the other day by a friend that at the time of the revolution, only 3% of Americans really took part in the revolution. And I never really could wrap my head around that. But
Yeah.
now that I see what's going on, we'd be lucky to have 3% of the people actually stand up and do anything.
So what they're called the 3%ers.
The
Uh-oh.
3%
I
is.
hope this video doesn't get flagged. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm sorry I said that. Channel's going to get a strike, and I'm surprised we're still around. And in spite of all the truth that goes on, and Ron Bransner was talking about this too, and then I had to share with you. Yesterday, I tried to share President Trump's speech that was being broadcast on Right Side Broadcasting on YouTube. I tried to post it on Facebook, and I got a strike for posting President Trump's speech. It said it goes against community guidelines, and I screenshot everything. So Facebook says, no one else can see your post. Your post goes against our community standards on dangerous individuals and organizations. We have these standards to prevent and disrupt offline harm. And then it, sorry to do that voice. All of the next screenshot says, our standards on dangerous individuals and organizations. We don't allow symbols, praise, or support of dangerous individuals or organizations on Facebook. We define dangerous as things like terrorist activity, organized hate or violence, mass or serial murder, I'm sorry, human trafficking, criminal or harmful activity. And it goes on for like 7 more. And then they punished me for posting President Trump's speech in front of the White House. They punished me by saying I can't go live on Facebook for 30 days. Big deal. I don't care because that is astonishing that he's the president of the United States. He's speaking in front of the White House. He's speaking to possibly 3 million people and another unknown number online. And they have the tenacity and audacity to say that kind of stuff about him.
I wonder if Facebook was around when people like John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, John Hancock, those guys. I wonder what they'd say about them, those terrorists, those treacherous humans.
Right. Those upstart Yankees, they're doing it again. They're speaking in bars and restaurants and places where the lowlifes congregate. Shut them down. And bill and quarter our soldiers in their very lodgings and homes. These people are astonishing, and to think that, free speech is under the gun so badly. What can we do other than either cooperate fully, drink the Kool-Aid, or continue to resist and be Americans? Well, I'm not going to be a victim. So
I'm not either. I have a friend of mine who's Canadian who's just actually texted me this morning, and he said, I'm worried about you. You need to get dual citizenship so you can come up to Canada when the heat gets bad. That's what he said.
Justin Trudeau, much? What a trick.
I do. I love him to death. And I know that he's
joking, right?
me,
that's a joke.
No, I'm serious. Wait, hold on.
You have a friend that uninformed? No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to put him down, but to think that somebody said that to me recently in public too, said, if it ever really gets bad, I'm going to go to Canada. I said, Canada's already gone. They actually have free speech laws against free speech.
Yeah, Canada. This is here. I don't know. Can you see it?
Yeah, starting to worry about you. I'm glad you're on the north side, though. You should get dual citizenship so you can come north when the heat gets too bad. I'm just sorry. That's just like mockery. Like, are you kidding me? Doesn't that guy know who Dr. Who's the Canadian lecturer? Well, anyway, they have prohibitions against free speech and blasphemy and using the correct pronouns and.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Dr.
Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, Jordan Peterson. Right. And what happened to that poor lefty woman who showed some of Jordan Peterson's lectures in a class? And then they went after her tenure, and she had been like this staunch third wave feminist, and then she left it all because she realized how dangerous those people were. They're calling her into meetings with the dean of her university saying you're spreading hate speech in the classroom by showing Dr. Jordan Peterson videos.
It's Canada. Canada's gone. Canada's a lost cause. But I really was thinking about it, and there is no choice to leave. This is our country. If we don't fight for it, nobody's going to fight for it. And if we go down, America's always been a safe place for refugees, for people who wanted justice, people who wanted opportunity. Where are we supposed to go?
There's nowhere.
There's nowhere to go. I mean, Poland is looking kind of okay, but they have that strong anti-Semitism thing going that they've
Yeah.
had going for a long time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't want my kids to be Polish. My
No,
kids
and
are Americans.
yeah. Well, there's really nowhere else to go. I mean, this is it. And this is why they all want to come here, even the ones who want to destroy us and infiltrate our civilization and our culture and create stealth jihad and undo all of what they call white laws. I mean, this strange behavior and teach people to hate themselves and to be racist at the very youngest of ages and to spread gender dysphoria and gender uncertainty. If you're confused about what gender you are, you should just have a look inside your underwear, and that's between you and yourself. But what they don't get is that they think we have to use their pronouns. It's not just accepting who they are, it's that they're trying to change our thought processes and undo whom we are as human beings. Very unegalitarian way of controlling people. And I'm old enough to remember, and I'm old enough to remember when, if you will, gay people were normal, so to speak, because they weren't sort of in your face. I remember Hollywood Squares, Carol Burnett. I grew up with the Honeymooners and all this great American television where it's like rough and tumble, and they were joking about that stuff all the time. You're just like, what do they mean by that joke, mom and dad? Oh, you'll understand when you're older. But they were the funnest people at a party in college. But now, and shame for the way they are that they can't. Now they got the Kool-Aid flavored hair,
Well,
and they
it's
gotta show you what. It's too much.
honestly, I have known and have friends who are gay and they are conservative, extremely conservative,
Yeah.
sometimes even more conservative than I am. And
Orlando, right?
uh,
Orlando.
well, the
They
thing
all woke
is,
up. They went Trump.
there are activists and militants that go on behalf of the gay community. And those are the people that are really scary. Now, I'm not going to disagree with
Oh.
you on what's going on because um, I've actually said before, I've actually told somebody, I'm pretty sure it was my friend who was black and gay, and she said she's like a very minor minority. It's like, hey, remember when gay people were actually happy before they got gay people were actually gay?
I
Not
remember when gay people had the best jokes
yes.
around and they knew all the cultural references and you're like, wow, that's really interesting, that you're really fun to be around. But no, now it's all seriousness. Tell you what, we're approaching 30 minutes. Can you make an end to this in like a minute? Can you make a 1 minute pitch to the end of part one and encapsulate all the ramblings here?
Sure. Sure. Are you going to be able to slice it?
Yeah, I will end part one and then we'll start with a new one for part two so we don't go over 30.
Perfect.
Sorry.
Um, let's just finish the thing about gays because I don't want them to say that we're homophobic or anything.
No, not at
Um,
all.
okay,
We're not homophobic. Yeah.
I'm not. Okay,
Let he who's without sin cast the first stone, right?
exactly. So as you said, it's not about um, it's just they're always about live and let live. Just leave us alone, let us do what we want. And I'm a libertarian. I believe whatever two consenting adults want to do with themselves, by all means,
Right.
do it behind closed doors. I don't want to see you naked in a parade. I
Yeah,
don't want
right.
to see me naked in a parade.
Yeah.
Nobody should be naked
Yeah.
in a parade.
Don't wear
Everybody
a
should
top.
just have their clothes on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep your clothes on in public, please.
Yes.
We don't
So
need to know about that.
exactly.
And don't be displaying that in Central Park in front of a bunch of minors,
But
right?
it's gotten so bad. You've got the drag queens that are dressed as all kinds of insanity doing reading time at the
In
library.
churches in Rochester, Minnesota, there's a church that does drag queen
What?
bingo, my friend. And we can talk about that more in part two. And I have the receipts to show it. But by the way, don't worry, Farrah, it's child friendly on their
Okay.
Eventbrite ticketing promo.
This you
But
so where the society, the fabric of society is just it's melting away, and it can't be. And I know that there are Christians who are saying that oh, this is all about the gay agenda. Bull crap. It's not about the gay agenda. There are some gay people or LGBTQ people who are very happy with the leftist agenda, and they're pushing the leftist agenda. And it all goes back to communism and the leftist agenda. And the communists will take whoever they can to be their friend and push their crap around. And the Muslims, of course, are hand in hand with them. You see Linda Sassoon and everybody else like her right in the middle of all of these things. So at the end of the day, this past year, there's been a lot of good times, a lot of bad times. If you chose to quarantine and be antisocial, then I guess you had a crappy Christmas. But we had a pretty good Christmas.
I had the best Christmas I can remember in a long, long time, and and my folks told me the same thing. It was very special this year. It
That's
came
awesome.
back 150, no decorations last year, 150% decorations downtown Rochester this year. Companies stepped up, businesses stepped up. Everybody said we're bringing Christmas back because I drive Broadway twice a day, sometimes more. And for the last 5 years, darkness at Christmas time. Nothing, not a candy cane, not a snow, plenty of snowflakes in Rochester. Let's end, let's
Well,
end, let's end part one, and we'll carry on with part two. Farrah, see you in a moment. Thank you.